This is 13 Minutes. I'm Elliot Reeves. My guest today is Mark Cameron. Mark, it's absolutely brilliant to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me on, mate. Good to chat.
Yeah, it's great having you here. Absolute pleasure. We came across, I'm trying to think, I first saw it was your Instagram page and noticed that you were podcasting.
Yes.
And then I think I got a DM from you. And then since then we had an unbelievably good conversation. And here we are again today. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, I think I was hunting for who else in Scotland was doing podcasts, and you were right up there with the Edinburgh scene. So it's great to connect.
There's not too many of us.
I know. Theoretically, they say everyone has their own podcast now, but it's nice to see folks really doing it.
Yeah, precisely. So, as a means of introducing yourself, who is Mark Cameron?
Yeah, so I grew up in Scotland. I am a coach. I am a musician, particularly in the faith-based world, and host this podcast, The Mark Cameron Show. So I live in South Queensferry. We're stuck with the water in front of us and the major bridge landmarks, and have made my home here for about 12 years.
Excellent. What have you been doing of late to keep yourself entertained?
Yeah, so where we are is beautiful. There's there's a beach walk. There's the countryside with the lambs coming out. There's the bridge. So trying to keep active. Bit of yoga, bit of Pilates, pretending like we're getting expertise in that. Really re-entering music and creativity again, writing and music making in that way. That's become a sort of strange habit, a painful habit, because we can't meet in person to create music anymore. Yeah. So we're trying to work out new ways of compiling tracks from people's homes and entering into a new way of collaborating on projects.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How have you sort of found this period psychologically and mentally?
Yeah, strange. I kind of loved going into it in a morbid way. Like the first 2 weeks of it, I thrived. I loved the creativity. I loved the challenge of taking our faith community to an online platform. And I enjoyed the process of sort of jumping 5 years into the future in 6 days with how we were communicating and working and platforming. And I think then there was a bit of the strange sense of elation and energy of the new thing, as well as this kind of deep sadness kicking in, all within about the same hour. And so I think I've just been with it. I think that's been the phrase that's sat with me, is not to ignore the emotions, the sensations physically that come with it, but to try and choose to be with the moments where I am, like, physically, the heart rate is up and the energy's there for new ideas and connecting with lots of different people, but also trying to be as present to the moments where you feel that inexplicable sadness, basically because you're just missing people, and trying to stay physically connected. You know, so much of life now is this head-based space and this video space. To try and remain engaged physically has been a challenge. But something just to encourage when we're out walking more, to be present to the elements. Something as simple as that, I think, has held us up.
Yeah. You've used the word faith a few times, and I know that that's the sort of word that can mean different things to different people. What does that word mean to you? What does it represent?
Yeah, do you know, now through this pandemic, but also through my life, it's probably represents a couple of things. So my faith was rooted in Christianity and the teachings of Jesus. And on one level, it's come to me now as this kind of, I call it like a rock position in me, that's something very firm and very deep that I can remember from age 5 and that I loved from that journey. And I think that shaped a part of my life which was wrapped in certainty. But then there's also been something emerging with faith that has helped me to think there are ways that I would understand God, but there's ways that I don't understand God at all. And I suppose the chaotic nature of a pandemic puts us into a place where we realize, okay, I'm not in control. I don't know all the answers. And so I'm trying to explore faith as a way which says, how do I not know God right now? What is it in, as we might see, creation or nature or space that does God have presence in that place? Does he give a toss about it? And so that part of me is both, my faith is both something very strong, rooted in the teachings of Jesus, and also something that now feels like I'm exploring wider and trying to understand, where is God in all things? Where is he in conversations? Where is he in the middle of this pandemic? And so it's becoming a strange but interesting place for me as I do music and I write about faith and hope and what could be, and also try and contain music and ideas about the reality facing people now of loss and challenge.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the word God is, to me, I would say, a kind of esoteric term as well. Like, it again means so many different, can potentially mean so many different things. How do you define God?
Yeah. So my belief in God is of the God found in the Judeo-Christian scripture, and I think Jesus was probably the best example for me of how to understand that. He, the faith I extend to who that person was could be this amazing archetypal figure who contained all the chaos of what was happening and all the possibility of what could be in people. And I think it was brought in this person, Jesus, some of the stories and the writings of him and how he portrayed it for me is enough to go, okay, I'll take this guy and whatever he said, and I'll unpack it. I'll see how it hits my life. I'll see how it hits my friends' lives, and so I think it is imbued in that person, Jesus. And then from there, there's a lot of mystery that comes out that I don't know about God and wouldn't want to assert too much of who he is and isn't. I think it's sourced in this interesting Jesus figure who has changed a lot of people's views and focuses, including mine in life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I guess I grew up Christian, although I was never a sort of active practitioner, if you like. Um, what would you say to people that are, I guess, skeptical of like religion and the ideas of God?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, I say stay skeptical because one, it will probably lead you to something deeply interesting, and it two will keep you from any of the abuses or madness that come when a community have taken too much influence. Like one of the things people maybe they don't object to the idea of God or this person Jesus, they objected to an empirical model, which the church
Yeah.
was for thousands of years, which was a good idea because actually maybe it ended up abusing people and ended up, murdering folks in its name. Now, that's not the God I want to ascribe to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very wise to be skeptical of a large empirical movement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say get curious about the skepticism. I think atheists and Christians are probably they probably have a similar level of consciousness, which is to examine what evidence is in front of them, explore
Yeah.
what impact it makes to the human condition, and then make choices in life based on that. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
say skepticism is phenomenal, and I think it should exist in the Christian life as much as it does the atheist life or
Yeah.
anything. I think it's incredibly healthy.
Mm. See, I probably reside somewhere in the middle of
Yeah,
of both. I'm
yeah.
kind of I don't really know where I am,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, in what way would you like to see the world change or evolve as a result of what's happening just now?
Yeah. I think I'd be interested to see how we might become familiar with what we've been holding at bay in our lives for many years. So to be forced in lockdown, maybe 6 weeks, there's a forced integration of all the parts of your life that we've done a great job of carving up: work, spirituality, professional, emotional, physical, family, relationship. I think the forced bringing together, the gestalt, the whole of all
Mm.
those coming in, probably means that we're quite prepared to take bits of ourselves that we've deemed wrong, that we've deemed unuseful, that we've deemed to be a burden to us, and take the contribution that they've been making. So the loneliness that we can feel is missing relationships. That's a beautiful thing. I'd hope we could be more upfront with what we've held at bay for many years. Maybe people in this lockdown have realised they've got an entrepreneurial part of them, an ambitious part of them, which they've shunned in their job. Maybe now they get to run with that and they
Mm-hmm.
choose it rather
Mm-hmm.
than hold it back. I think I've realised I love downtime and regular meals with my wife. And before I might have even had a bit of pride on being busy and having multiple evening events. That's something that I'd love to see more brought forward, where we just say, I'll be with the parts of me that I'd shunned before, and I'll include them and see what they're contributing to my life.
Mm-hmm. Great answer. I love that. In what single way would you like to see the world change?
That's such a great question. I think behind that realization, behind that change, is the hope that people could take more responsibility for the choices that have emerged in this time. I think that'd be hugely, hugely powerful. If we realize I wasn't forced into lockdown, like I chose to stay at home, and I've chosen every meal of the day, I've chosen my activities a lot more in this time. I think if people could really feel that we've got a responsibility and a way to decide what we do with our circumstances and how we process them and share them with one another, that could be phenomenal. If governments started picking up on that more, organisations, we could see a real beautiful change in the world.
Do you think that this has happened for a reason?
No, I mean, I think if it's reason, I would say the reason would be whatever scientific observations we could make about the evolution of a virus and how that spreads scientifically. I don't think there's any larger meaning behind this happening. And I'd be reticent to put it at cause, because I think that would then abdicate our response to it. Say, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that. I think it's because it happened, and now we get the choice back. So what do we do with it? Like, what do we do with these new conversations that we're in? What do we do with the response? So I don't think there's any real reason other than whatever explanation could be offered scientifically.
Interesting. We could. I reckon I could speak to you for hours on these sorts of topics, man. Like 30 minutes doesn't give us a lot of time to explore them. But what advice or insights would you give to anyone that was struggling at the moment?
Yeah, I think I'd encourage you, talk it out with people, do the physical stuff, get back in the body, get back to sleep, get out for a walk. So this quote: if you feel rubbish, go for a walk. If you still feel rubbish, go for another walk. But I'd maybe on a deeper level encourage you to say, whatever the struggle is, what is that signaling to you about what you're caring and what you're committed to? So if you're worried about your job and worried about how that covers the family, then take that as a beautiful signal of your commitment to your family. If you're worrying about your health and your long-term well-being, then take that as a signal that you want to change something. And I suppose it's saying, how could stress be a signal to us of what we want to engage with and what we want to change? And hopefully not just an overwhelming thing that makes us eat Doritos and Netflix. So I think, that's some of what's helping me cope. I'm about to buy a PlayStation, I think, though, so my advice might change in 2 weeks.
Get your Twitch channel up and running, gaming every day. I love it. Mark, where can people find you?
I do a podcast called The Mark Cameron Show because I couldn't think of a better name. I do a little bit on Twitter, Mark A. Cameron, on Instagram, mark.a.cameron. And I work for a church called P's and G's. So we're in the city of Edinburgh, and we're around for people. We love people.
Awesome. Well, my friend, it's been absolutely awesome chatting with you. I've really enjoyed it. It's great to hear your perspectives. And yeah, please look after yourself. And I'm sure we'll catch up again once everything settles down.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me on, mate. Good to see you.
You too, Mark. Take care. Bye. Cheers.